Unit 2, page 12. Read. Exercise 2. Read and listen to the text.
Unknown white male. On the 3rd of July 2003, a 35-year-old Englishman called Doug Bruce walked into a police station in Coney Island, New York, and told the police that he did not know his own name. He had woken up a few minutes earlier on a subway train with bumps on his skull and a headache, and had no idea where he was going, where he had been, or who he was. "I was scared," he said later, when talking about the experience. "I didn't know anything. It was like being in the darkness." Doug went to a police station because he had nowhere else to go. He was wearing a t-shirt, shorts and flip-flops, and he had a rucksack with a few possessions in it: a Spanish phrase book, a bunch of keys, and a map of New York. The police were baffled. "We'd never had anything like this before," says Lieutenant Pete Pena. They sent Doug to Coney Island Hospital. On his name tag, the nurse wrote, "Unknown white male." The doctors were surprised at the severity of his memory loss. Although Doug could form sentences without difficulty, he remembered nothing about his own past, and his general knowledge was very patchy. One specialist at the hospital, Dr. Leonid Vorobyev, admitted that he had only ever seen such serious amnesia in the movies and in my textbooks. Doug was diagnosed as suffering from total retrograde amnesia, which is extremely rare. The hospital authorities would not discharge Doug until he had been identified. Finally, hospital staff came across a phone number scrawled in his phrase book. It was the number of a friend's mother. Doug phoned, and when his friend Nadine spoke to him, she recognized his voice at once. "Is that you, Doug?" she said. "I don't know," came the reply. Nadine went to the hospital, told the doctors who Doug was, and escorted him home. Home turned out to be a stunning apartment in downtown Manhattan, which he shared with 2 dogs and 3 parrots. Doug discovered that he had previously lived in Paris, where he had made a lot of money working at the stock exchange. Apparently, he had got tired of the business world, and so he had resigned and gone to New York to enroll in a 4-year course in photography. Now that Doug had discovered his identity, he had to cope with other challenges. He was worried about meeting his family and friends. They seemed like strangers to him. His sisters told him that he had changed. Before his memory loss, he had been very sociable and outgoing, but rarely showed his emotions. Now, he has become much more relaxed and isn't scared of showing his feelings. He's happy with his new life, and his story has now been portrayed on film. An old friend of his, director Rupert Murray, has made a documentary about Doug's extraordinary experiences called Unknown White Male.
Unit 2, page 16. Listen. Exercises 1 and 2. Listen to 5 people recalling events in their lives. Speaker 1.
When I was 10, my parents decided that they wanted me to go to Helston Secondary School. You needed to pass a difficult exam to get in. So I took the exam, and I failed it. Was I disappointed? Not really. I didn't want to pass the exam because I didn't want to go to Helston. I wanted to go to Whitestone Comprehensive with all my friends. So for me, failing was better than passing. But I didn't tell my parents that, of course.
Speaker 2. I remember my best friend at primary school was called Mandy. We were always together. We sat next to each other in class. We played together in the playground. Then one day, I got to school and Mandy didn't want to sit next to me. She wanted to sit next to Karen. Ugh, Karen. I still don't like the name. At the time, I felt really bad. I got angry with Mandy about it and shouted at her. But of course, that didn't help. Speaker 3.
When I was 6, I really wanted a bike for my birthday. I remember getting out of bed really early that morning and going downstairs. In the middle of the living room was an enormous present, all wrapped up in coloured paper. I couldn't wait. I unwrapped it, and inside was a fantastic new bike. It was the best present ever. I'll never forget the feeling when I took the paper off and saw it for the first time.
Speaker 4.
When I was about 9, my cousin got married. It was quite a big wedding. All the family were there, and lots of friends from our village too. I was really looking forward to it. Then I saw the dress that my parents wanted me to wear. It was awful, big and shiny and pink, and not the kind of thing I like wearing at all. I always wore jeans and t-shirts, but my parents insisted. I felt so uncomfortable in that dress, and when my friends saw me, my face went bright red.
Speaker 5.
I was 5 when I started school. I remember my mum saying goodbye at the school gate. I think she was crying. I didn't cry. I was too scared to do anything. All the other children seemed enormous, and I didn't know anybody there. It was all so strange and new. I wanted to run. I wanted to open the gate and run all the way home. In fact, I remember trying to run to the gate and escape, but I couldn't move.
Unit 2. Page 17. Grammar. Explore. Exercise 1. Read and listen to the conversation.
What was life like in the village when you were young, Grandma?
Oh, it was very different.
What did you used to do in the evenings?
We used to sit and chat or listen to the radio.
Did you used to watch television?
No, we didn't have a television and we didn't have a car.
Really?
No, so we didn't used to leave the village very often.
Unit 2. Page 17. Grammar. Explore. Exercise 3. Listen and repeat the sentences.
We used to sit and chat. We didn't used to leave the village very often.
Did you used to watch television?
Unit 2. Page 17. Grammar. Exploit. Exercises 2 and 3. Listen to a description of a ghost town.
Fairview is in Colorado, USA, about 300 kilometers from the city of Denver. There are houses in Fairview, wooden houses, and shops too, but they're all empty. Fairview is a ghost town. Nobody has lived here for more than 100 years. Fairview was founded around 1859, when prospectors discovered gold in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. It grew quickly, as people came from all around to look for gold. Soon, it had a population of 2,000. They worked in the gold mines in the hills every day and in the evenings they ate and drank in the saloon in the centre of town. Today, the saloon is empty. Like all the other buildings, the mines are closed, and nobody works in the hills. The gold rush finished after a few years, and gradually the people left. Today, tourists visit Fairview because it's a piece of American history. They arrive by car or coach along the new road. Because there were no cars when Fairview was a busy town, there was no road. They buy drinks and snacks at a coffee shop, the only new building in the town. But they can't stay at the hotel because it's been closed for 100 years. So they drink their coffee and imagine what it was like to live in a gold rush town in the hills.
Unit 2, page 19. Language skills. Exercise 1. Listen and check.
You're new here, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I moved here last month.
Where did you live before?
In the country. I used to go to a school in the next village.
How did you used to get to school?
By bus. I used to get up at 6 o'clock to catch the bus to school.
Did you ever miss the bus?
Only once. I was waiting at the end of the road when I realised I had forgotten my PE kit. I ran home to get it, but when I got back to the bus stop, the bus had gone without me.
So what happened?
My parents made me walk to school that day. It was 10 kilometres and it took me nearly 3 hours. I never missed the school bus again.
Everyday English 2. Teacher's Book, page 104. Narrating events. Exercise 1. Read and listen to the dialogue.
I will never forget the day my father asked me to help out at his restaurant.
Why? What happened?
I was about 14 at the time, and one of the waiters was sick. My father told me to put on a uniform and start taking the orders from the customers who had already arrived.
Were you nervous?
At first, I wasn't nervous at all. But then I saw one of the teachers from school sitting at a table with his wife. Then I didn't feel quite so confident.
So, what did you do?
Well, I wanted to make a good impression, so I hurried over to their table to give them a menu. Unfortunately, the trousers of my uniform were so long that I tripped over them and landed on the floor at the teacher's feet.
Oh, how embarrassing. What happened next?
After that, things got worse. They had ordered soup as a starter, and as I was putting it on the table, one of the plates slipped. The soup went all over the teacher's wife.
Oh no! What a disaster!
Yes, it was, because she was wearing a lovely white dress, and it was tomato soup.
Oh, how awful.
In the end, they left the restaurant without eating their meal, and I had to explain to my father what had happened.
Oh, poor you. But how funny.
Everyday English 2. Teacher's Book, page 104. Narrating events. Exercises 4 and 5. Listen to 2 dialogues. Dialogue 1.
I remember my last birthday really well.
Why's that? Was it good?
In the end, it was fantastic. First, I met my best friend and went into London because I wanted to see a film. But 2 cinemas were full. Next, we went to Leicester Square. We were standing behind a big crowd of people when suddenly we realised that a film premiere was going on. Then a car drove up and Johnny Depp got out.
How amazing!
I know! He said, "Hello, what can I do for you?" And I said, "It's my birthday. Can we come and see your film?"
You didn't.
I did. Then he smiled and gave us 2 tickets. He told the man beside him, "Look after these young men." After that, We walked up the red carpet and the man showed us to 2 front seats and gave us drinks and popcorn.
How lucky!
And finally we went backstage and met all the stars of the film.
Oh, what an incredible birthday!
Dialogue 2.
My sister's just had her baby.
Oh, how fantastic! Boy or girl?
A little girl called Emily Rose.
Oh, what a lovely name. What's she like?
Actually, I thought she was beautiful.
You sound surprised.
Yeah, I was surprised at how I felt. When I went to see them both in the hospital, I didn't know what to expect. At first, I wasn't very interested. I don't know much about babies anyway. But then I saw my sister sitting there looking so incredibly happy, and I actually felt quite emotional. And a few minutes later, I held Emily for the first time. I thought she was wonderful, so gorgeous and tiny and cute. Finally, I thought, I'm her auntie, and I felt so proud.
Oh, that's really sweet.
Literature Corner 1. Page 20. Exercise 2. Read and listen.
Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. Dr. Livesey was not at his house, but with the squire at his home, so Captain Dance and I went on there. I had never seen Squire Trelawney so near. He was a big, tall man with a red face and was sitting beside a fire with Dr. Livesey. "Come in, Mr. Dance," he said. Mr. Dance gave his report and both men listened with deep interest. "And so, Jim," said the doctor, "you have the thing that they were looking for, have you?" "Here it is, sir," I said, and gave him the papers tied inside the cloth. The doctor looked at them and put them quietly in the pocket of his coat. After that, Mr. Dance went away and I was given some food. "And now, Squire," said the doctor, "you have heard of this Flint, I suppose?" "Heard of him?" cried the squire. "He was the worst pirate that ever sailed. The Spanish used to tremble just to hear his name." "Well, I've heard of him myself," said Dr. Livesey. "But the question is, did he have money?" "Money?" said the squire. "Of course Flint had money. Those scoundrels were after it." "Well then, suppose I have here in my pocket a paper that shows where Flint hid his treasure," said the doctor. "Would the treasure be worth looking for?" "Worth looking for?" cried the squire with great enthusiasm. "I'll tell you what it's worth. I'll prepare a ship at Bristol, take you and Hawkins with me, and have that treasure if I have to search for a year." We opened the cloth and found 2 things, a book and a paper. The book gave a list of all the money Flint had stolen from different ships during 20 years at sea. The doctor opened the paper and found a map of an island. There was a hill in the centre marked Spyglass and several names that had been added later. There were 3 big crosses, 2 in the north of the island and 1 in the southwest. Beside the last cross were the words, "Most of the treasure here." On the back of the paper, the same person had written, "Tall tree, Spyglass shoulder to the north of north-northeast, Skeleton Island, east-southeast and by east." The squire and Dr. Livesey were delighted.
Skills Roundup 1 to 2. Page 21. Listen. Exercises 1 and 2. Listen to 4 teenagers' opinions about people from their own country. Rosanna.
I love Brazilians. But maybe that's because I'm from Brazil. The best thing about them is they laugh a lot. And they smile a lot. If you walk down the street, you see lots of smiles. Another thing is that they're always willing to share what they've got with you, even if they haven't got very much themselves. They're not at all mean.
Ethan.
I'm from New York in the USA. It's an enormous country, of course, and people are different in different parts of the states. But I think there are some characteristics that are typical and that are shared by Americans across the country. Let me give you an example. In general, Americans work hard. They start work early, finish late, and they don't have long holidays. In my opinion, they're proud of their country and very proud to be American, whatever their ethnic background.
Junko.
I'm not typically Japanese. I'm probably more like an Australian because I've lived here in Australia for years now. Japanese people have got good manners and show respect to other people, especially people they don't know. In fact, sometimes they can be rather formal. Personally, I'm not. Another difference between me and other Japanese is that I'm very open, even with people I don't know. Japanese people often hide their feelings. They don't like other people to know what they are thinking or feeling.
Jem.
I'm from Turkey, from the south near Adana. I think Turkish people in general are quite warm-hearted and they like meeting new people and making new friends. Turkish people don't like to sit in silence. They like talking. They can chat away for hours on end. That's my opinion anyway.